very important question, a critical question. Must all lovers of God, all true saints that love Him, irrespective of their level of growth and exposure to God, and who remain physically alive at this time of the end, must they be brought out, delivered out of the church system, visible church system of our day as we see it, as we know it? Must they be brought out of that order of things as long as they remain alive at this time of the end? Must they be brought out of that order of things for them to realize the fullness of God's purpose for the church at this time of the end, if they remain physically alive? And we answered yes. And we have been looking at that for a while. And today we'll tidy that up, giving a further boost in relation to what we have already shown. There are many entrances. The entrance that the Lord gave by which we entered into the body was from Matthew 13. And we looked at this parable, Matthew 13. Verse 30. Start reading from verse 24 just to take it. Say, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, did not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then had it tares? He said unto them, an enemy. Let's take that. Verse 8. He said unto them, an enemy had done this. The servant said unto him, without then that we go and gather them up. But he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Verse 30, let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Let's read from verse 37. He answered and said unto them, he that sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the word of the church word. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this age, the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity. And they shall cast them, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who had ears to hear, let him hear. Praise the name of the Lord. So we entered through this parable, and we identified the weights and the tests as first of all being words, teachings, doctrines, principles. Then they go on to practices. Then when these things are entrenched in human persons, then the test and the weight both become persons. Praise the name of the living God. We saw a situation at the time of the end, at the time of harvest. Imagine a field that contains both tares and wheat together. That is a mixture, right? That is a mixture. And of course, that is the generic meaning of Babylon. That is a mixture. The tares are not from God, but they came into the field as a result of the activities of the evil one when men slept. Praise the name of the living God. So a field of wheat and tares. And of course, notice what we observe. Principles, teachings, doctrines. It is the seed of the word that birth other things. Principles, teachings, doctrines. Believed upon, they produce practices. Moral practices, spiritual practices. And when these things have become very entrenched in an individual, then the tares can also represent individuals. Praise the name of the living God. So you see that field of mixture, and it reminds one of 2 Timothy chapter 2. It says, in a great house, let's just read that. 2 Timothy chapter 2. Second Timothy 2, 17 to 21. And their word we eat as doth what? A canker, of whom is Emmanuel and Philetus. Notice their words, principles, doctrines, teachings become entrenched in human persons, and some persons are mentioned. Verse 18, who concerning the truth have heard, saying that the resurrection is past already, and overthrow the faith of some. Let's read verse 19 together. Nevertheless, the foundation of God standeth sure, having this seal, the Lord knoweth them that are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. Verse 20. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to dishonor, some to honor, and some to dishonor. Say that picture of a mixture. But that is not the desire of the Lord. That is not what will ever continue to be. That is not what God intends for the house the body is building. And it's the situation that will not continue to be. Praise the name of the living God. We saw that let both grow together. Let the errors, the erroneous teachings and practices and things that have emerged from them, let them be, let them grow together. So you find some measure of truth, a great amount of error. Some measure of practices that is in line with the mind of God, but a great dose of practices that are spurious, that's something that originated from the evil one. So but it shall not continue to be. In the time of harvest, there is a putting things straight, as we saw in Acts chapter 3. At the time of the restitution of all things, of putting things straight, so that the purpose of God for the church may be fully realized. Praise the name of the living God. And so it is with denominational church organization, right? Once there's an arrangement that sets up man in control, and the man becomes the center of everything, and a system of things patterned after the world, after the way they arrange worldly kingdoms, is set up. That is a beast. And once it is set up, many other things will begin to follow. Because there must be things, there must be teachings, there must be practices, there must be behavior that must sustain that system. So once it is set up, many things begin to appear. Praise the name of the living God. And notice, sometimes it is thought that without such an arrangement, God's purpose cannot be served. The case cannot move forward. That is the wisdom that comes from man's flesh, which is a seed of the serpent. And because that is actually what happened with Abraham, recall what we read in Galatians chapter 3 and chapter 4. That is what happened with Abraham. How can the purpose of God be realized? How can the promise be realized? How can God has a great purpose to accomplish in the earth? He has spoken it, he has declared it. How can that promise be realized? And there was an arrangement to help God realize the promise. Is that not so? And Abraham went into his mate and produced Ishmael. It was an arrangement to see that the purpose of God is accomplished. Help God and realize God's purpose. And of course, Ishmael served the purpose of God in a measure. And of course, God blessed him. Is that not so? God bless him, confer great blessings upon him. But he said that this one shall not realize the promise. there's that which is exactly according to my mind. And of course, that which is set up in the name of God, which cannot realize God's purpose if it does not open up to the realization of God's purpose, becomes set against God. So Ishmael persecutes. Become a persecutor of God's intention. So an arrangement that has been, and God has borne long with it for decades. So let it grow together, let it remain. It will serve my purpose, it will serve my interest, but at the time of the end, there is a putting things straight. And of course, at the time of the end, at the time of the harvest, the tares are fully grown. Over the years, over the decades, of course, it was never God's intention. You saw in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 how the seed of that thing was to emerge among the Corinthian Christians, and some, there was division amongst them. Some were beginning to pitch themselves after Paul, some were beginning to pitch themselves after Apollos. And Paul says, I will have that you have the same mind, the same thoughts. Says, Apollos crucified for you? Who is Paul and who is Apollos? So you see that seed which Paul crushed at that time, but which became fully institutionalized in the church setting after some time. And the very first mother of all is the one we know, Roman Catholicism. Praise the name of the living God. But God has endured and borne long with it. But at the time of the end, there is a certain thing straight, for the glory of God shall be revealed in the earth. Praise the name of the living God. Of course, the Lord has his purpose before him. If you come to Isaiah chapter 40, Isaiah chapter 40. That passage itself is very prophetic because it speaks of the ministry that goes before the Lord at the time of the restitution of all things, to prepare the way of the Lord, breaking down all things that are opposed to him, so that the glory of the Lord may be revealed. The prophetic ministry typified, which was fulfilled in his first advent by the ministry of John the Baptist. The Lord has his work before him. And in this Isaiah chapter 40, read from verse 10. Let's read verse 10 and 11. It says, behold, the Lord God will come with strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and what? His work before him. He shall do what? Feed his flock like a shepherd shall gather his people unto him. He shall deliver the sheep from all the places they've been scattered. He shall gather them unto him. There shall be one shepherd and one flock. Praise the name of the living God. Behold, the Lord God will come with a strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. He shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm, and carry them in his bosom, and shall gently lead those that are with young. Praise the name of the living God. This the Lord shall do. Shall gently lead those that are with young. He knows how to do it. Praise the name of the living God. So he has his work before him. In Ephesians chapter 5, we are told that he will come to take unto himself such a church that is without spot, without wrinkle. Ephesians chapter 5. Verse 27. Let's read it together. As the Lord comes in the time of the restitution of all things. Let's read verse 27. That he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. Marriage is in view. The church is to be brought into full union with Christ in glory, into the fullness of his image and likeness. He will present to himself a glorious church. He will deal with the spots. He will deal with the wrinkles. He will deal with the blemishes. Praise the name of the living God. So the time of restitution, of putting all things straight. And Matthew chapter 13 says that he shall say unto the reapers, gather the tares together into bundles to burn them, and gather the wheat into my barn. Gather the wheat into my barn. Say, he shall separate, there shall be separation between tares and wheat, between truth and error, between erroneous practices that have been in the church for so long, nevertheless not according to God. But they've been for decades, for centuries, they've been there. Says about AD 300 and something, these things have been there, but nevertheless not according. But the Lord bore long with it and used it, and to the extent men are faithful, men could still become overcomers and make it to the extent they are faithful and serve God to the extent of the light they have with sincerity and faithfulness. God bore with it and used it. But at the time of the end, there must be putting things straight, separating between the tares and the wheat, truth and error, practices, moral and spiritual practices, entrenched in short setting that are not according to God's mind, must be made clear for what they are. They must be put aside. Truth is brought forth and ministered and made to shine brightly. Practices that are according to God, set up and established concretely, so that God's purpose for the church may move forward. Will take care of the blemishes, of the spots, of the wrinkles, that he might present the church unto himself, a perfect church without spot and wrinkle and any of such things. Praise the name of the living God. Praise the name of the living God. So come also to Malachi chapter 3. Notice it says, gather the wheat into my barn. It's very emphatic, my barn. Notice that it's not just a separation between truth and errors, between practices that are according to God and that which are not according to God, but there's also a separation between persons, right? It says, gather the wheat into my barn. My barn, the barn of the Lord, emphatic, my own barn. And of course, the wheat gathered into the barn of the Lord are to be processed, right? Because they must become bread for men to eat, to feed the nations. So the wheat must be processed. They must be passed through fire. They must be grounded into flour, passed through fire and baked in the oven to become bread for the nations to eat. So the gathering of the wheat into the barn, there's a further work the Lord is going to do in the barn as he processes the wheat to bring forth the bread of life that will feed the nations. Praise the name of the living God. Malachi chapter 3. We'll start reading from verse 1. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come into his temple, even the messenger of the covenant whom you delight in. Behold, he shall come, said the Lord of hosts. So there is the ministry of the Lord in preparing the way, which is what we saw in that Isaiah chapter 40 from verse 1, fulfilled in his first advent by John the Baptist, and at this time of the end fulfilled in a body of people that are joined to the Lord in the ministry of preparing his way in the midst of the church. Praise the name of the living God. That shall prepare the way before me. This ministry will bring forth a people that will begin to seek the Lord and long for him. And the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come into his temple, even the messenger of the covenant whom you delight in. Behold, he shall come, said the Lord of hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For it's like a refiner's fire, and like what? Fuller's soap. And it shall sit. It's a sitting business. As the Lord gathers the wheat into his barn, there's going to be a progressive work of processing. And it shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and it shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto the Lord, as in the days of old, as in the former years. Verse 5 says that, and I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against the forswearers, and against them that oppress the island in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, said the Lord of hosts. Praise the name of the living God. So there's a processing, separation, a processing. Then shall the righteous shine forth in the kingdom of their Father. Praise the name of the living God. Now, take note of something. At this time of the end, at this time of harvest, there is no middle ground. There's what? No middle ground. The field of wheat and tares combined together in a mixture cannot remain. It cannot continue to be. It cannot remain. And there is no middle ground. Notice what is shown in Matthew chapter 13. The wheat are gathered out gathered out into what? Into the lost barn. Right? There shall be processing. There shall be cleansing. It shall remove from them things that are not according to him. It shall take away from them that do iniquity. According to Matthew chapter 13, there shall be processing. A process that will further lead to their moral perfection. Right? And they are uniting with the Lord in glory. Now, while the wheat are gathered into the barn of the Lord, the tares are gathered in bundles within the field to burn them. Are you together with me? There's no middle ground. Two parts. The weights are gathered out of the field into the lost barn. And the tares are gathered in bundles within the field to burn them. There's no middle ground. As there is the gathering of the wheat into the lost barn, there is the gathering of the tares in bundles within the field. There is something emerging in the church world at this last time. There is a gathering of the tares together in bundles. There's something emerging as the Lord gathers the wheat and is building up his body to perfection. An alternate gathering and building up is emerging in the church world. When come to Zechariah chapter 4. Sorry, Zechariah chapter 5. A lot of things revealed. Zechariah chapter 3, 4, 5, and 6. The Lord has ministered to us from this passage before and at many other times. But we just want to take that which is relevant to us here. From verse 1 to 4, you will see a judgment going forth in the midst of the church world. But from verse 5, then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up now thy eyes and see what is this that goeth forth. May your eyes be lifted up. May you see that which is going forth. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Lift up now thy eyes and see what is this that goeth forth. What is going forth? And I said, what is this? And he said, this is an ephah that goeth forth. He said, moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. Something that is going to engulf the entire earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. And he said, what? This is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. Then lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out of their wings, there came out two women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Then said I to the angel that talked with me, whither do this bear the ephah? Let's read verse 11 together. And he said unto me, to build it an house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon our own base. Oh my God. Shinar is Babylon. To build it an house. This is wickedness going forth. To build it an house in the land of Shinar. Not Shinar. Praise the name of the living God. And it shall be established there and set there upon our own base. This is Babylon fully built. According to Revelation 18. Babylon fully developed. The house, religious house, that embodies and give body to the mystery of iniquity, fully built. This is something going forth. And of course, the picture of the wheat and the tares and the field is a mixture. It's Babylon, but it is a middle of the road position which God had endured with and allowed, and he calls his people out of it. But something is to emerge at this time of the end that is fully blown. In social setting. In short setting. Hey. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Says, gather the task together, burn them. Ultimately, this evil thing shall be destroyed and burnt with fire, according to Revelation chapter 18. But 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. We read from verse 1 to 12. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of the Lord, at the time of the harvest, at the time of the restitution of all things, and our gathering together unto him, because he gathers the wheat into his barn, that you be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by the word, nor by letters from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first. And of course, the decades and centuries of denominationalism and organized church religion, with some measure of truth and large dose of error, some measure of practices that gives the heart encouragement and serve the purpose of God, and large dose of practices that serve men and oppose God's interest. That system of things, the many decades and centuries it has been, has brought forth the evil thereof. We have seen the evil of it. And at this time of the end, the abominations are all before us. They become fully grown. We are seeing the evil men are doing with church organization, and the evil that goes along with it. Once you create a beast, you that create it, you become brutish, and many things will follow. It says, unless there comes a falling away first. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he has got seated in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was with you, I told you these things? Because certain things were beginning to even happen in the days of the apostles, and they were contending with issues, with practices, and with men who wanted to exalt themselves and establish themselves over God's heritage. They were contending. John says that you've heard that Antichrist will come. Even now, there are many Antichrists. They went out from us, not wanting to submit, and formed their own team. Praise the name of the living God. He says, remember you know that when I was with you, I told you these things, and now you know what we told them, that it might be revealed in his time. There's a time for the full revelation of the mystery of iniquity in church setting, in church environments. The full growth and manifestation of wickedness and of the mystery of iniquity. There's a time appointed for it, and it is this time of the end. It has always been there. The tests were sown much early in the history of the church, much early, very much early, and they've been there for centuries. Centuries. We came to know. We came to meet it on the scene, right? It has been there for centuries. So these things have been there. Priestly system, leading God's people to take on marks of the beast, to build image to the beast, with men that have the number of his name, serving and leading others. There are things that have always been in since the church was started. The apostles wrestled with it. But it says that it becomes fully grown, fully developed at this time of the end. Revelation chapter 13. That fully grown situation is going to emerge from the midst of the church world. And it's going to be terrible. Right. But it says, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. From verses, and now you know what we told it, that it might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, and only he who now letteth will let. May you not let, until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. May you not believe a lie. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ the Lord, may you not believe a lie. So notice, at this time of the it has been there, but it's something that is going to take on a terrible dimension at this time of the end, because there is going to be a satanic incursion that will set up something in social environments but so there's no middle ground. The which are gathered, those who are not gathered, and continue with that order of things, we partake of his judgment. It has gathered into bondage. Something is emerging. There is no middle ground. And the Lord is the Lord. He is the Lord. The Lord of his house. The owner of the field, who bore long with what he saw, because he has faith in himself to accomplish his purpose, and his work is before him. And he who comes at the time of the harvest and begins a work of judgment. Errors will be destroyed. Erroneous practices, no matter how long they've been, we were born into them, but they are erroneous practices nevertheless. And no matter how long they've been in church history, they must be taken away. Praise the name of the Lord. So it comes and his work is before him. Marriage of the church to the bridegroom is come. The time for him to raise up the church to perfection and full glory is come, and he will have it. The spots, the wrinkles, the blemishes, it will take away. It will set things straight, and it will further his work in the midst of all who have ears to hear him. All who have ears to hear him. And he is the Lord, he is the shepherd. Remember Isaiah chapter 40. Brethren, hey. There's no middle ground though. There's no middle ground. And God has made his people over these years to see the evils of tares and wheat. If you, no matter how sincere a man may be, once you set up a beastly arrangement, it's over. It will take over. Things must sustain it. Certain character traits, practices must sustain it to keep it going. And if you hear terrible things that are happening in the church world, witchcraft, killing, competitions, killing to take over positions, and all kind of terrible things. How are you going to rule over the people like a worldly kingdom and exercise control and bring things under your may God help us in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. But Isaiah chapter 40 says that he will feed his flock like a shepherd. He will gather the lamb in his hand. He will gently lead those that are with young. He knows how he's going to gather his flock. He knows how he's going to do it. And he knows how to save any lover of his that is entrenched in this environment and that has labored and served him in sincerity. He knows how to save them. He knows how to keep any lover of him from missing the inheritance of the glory. He knows what to do. If things become critical, he knows what to do to save that soul, so that that soul will still make it to the throne because of years of labor and faithfulness and love and sincerity. He knows what to do concerning each of his sheep. Praise the name of the Lord. So, no middle ground.
Sorry to touch.
Praise the name of the living God. So, no middle ground. And when you come to Revelation chapter 14, we see this. We'll start reading from verse 6. I will just say certain characteristics concerning this time of the harvest and certain things going forth. Revelation chapter 6. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. And worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountain of waters. May all heed this voice in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is falling, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they had no rest day and night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus Christ. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying unto me, write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth Yea, said the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works to follow them. An insertion in this narration. Verse 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, and having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for our grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the hospitals, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. Praise the name of the living God. Now, we have read without making much comment, but they show certain things that becomes true in the time of the harvest, and goes on in the time of the harvest until everything about the harvest is completed. During that great period, all of the things we read becomes true during the great time of harvest. Praise the name of the living God. And we can look at it from the time of the Lord's descent, when the harvest, from the time the harvest begins, the harvest work. The harvest is at the end of the age, and at the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, praise the name of the living God. From the time of that beginning, the end of the age, when the harvest sets in, until the harvest is concluded. And we have two divisions. You can look at the time of the summer and the time of the winter. Praise the name of the living God. There are those of God's people that are gathered during this time of summer, or becomes the first fruits. Because at a time in that work of the harvest, there comes a time, according to Matthew chapter 25, when the door is shut. And we have the time of the winter, the after fruits. Time of the winter is associated. This is an opportune time that God has set aside for the harvest to be done, and all those that have ears to hear him and love him to be gathered unto him. This is a time, an unfavorable time. We are told that in this time there shall be great tribulation. Of the saints, and all those who will be gathered and harvested in this period shall suffer the pain of that tribulation. Praise the name of the living God. So the entire scope of the harvest, and from Proverbs chapter 10, let's read Proverbs chapter 10. We'll read Proverbs chapter 10, verse 5 and 1. We'll make some comments, then we'll go to Matthew 24 and Luke 17. Then we'll take some things and we'll be closing. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 5. Let's read verse 5 together. The Lord has ministered this passage to us again and again and again. Let's read verse 5 together, then we'll read verse 1. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that cause shame. Verse 1. A wise son maketh a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. The mothers are always bearing the brunt. Praise the name of the Lord. Amen. The son that gathereth in summer is a wise son. And to gather in the summer, three things associated with the gathering in this summer. First is the gathered out of the field, out of the visible shore system. That is the beginning. Gathered out of that, the visible shore system arrangement. That is the beginning of that gathering in the summer. Gathered unto the Lord. Then the second thing is opening up to the work the Lord wants to do in the midst of the persons he has gathered together, opening up to it so that the Lord can do that work in the believer's life. That work of teaching, instructing, processing them, preparing them, making them ready, building them up, preparing them for full union with him, opening up to it, giving attention to it, letting the Lord build up the desire and longings for him, yielding to the processing and receiving all the changes and transformation that is required to grow up in order to be brought into full union with him. Praise the name of the living God. That is the second element in the gathering. And the third is being passionate in relation to the burden of the Lord concerning the harvest, so that you are involved in the same burden with the Lord, laboring to see that the lost own are gathered to him out of the visible shore system and out of the world, for as many as the Lord shall call from the world of unbelievers, laboring in prayers and service to ensure that the knowledge, the burden, the growth that the Lord desires is realized in the life of his people. laboring both in prayers and in the service of the word as the Lord shall appoint. Identifying with the Lord in the same burden of the harvest and laboring to serve him along that line. That's the third element in that gathering. The son that gathers in the summer. Praise the name of the living God. Because being gathered out of the visible shore system to the Lord is just the beginning elements of it. And of course, from Matthew chapter 25, we see persons that are gathered but are not totally given to the other two elements, and who did not enter into the preparation to make themselves ready for the Lord. Praise the name of the living God. So that's the gathering, the wise. And of course, in Matthew chapter 25, you see the wise virgins, the foolish virgins. The wise son gathereth in the summer, the opportune time that God has appointed for the harvest, and for men, his people, to be gathered unto him and to be exposed to his workings and ministry, and to grow up into that fullness. Then the son that sleepeth, not knowing what the mind of the Lord is, according to Ephesians chapter 5, says, not knowing what the mind of the Lord is, not gathered to him, or even if it's gathered out of the visible shore system, not awake and alive, not opening up to what God wants to do, not alive to it and involved in it, is to be asleep. Not knowing what the lost mind is, not gathered to the Lord, or gathered knowing what the lost mind is but not given to it, is sleep. And we will not be asleep in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. So the whole scope of the time of the harvest, two great periods, the time of the summer and the time of the winter. Those who are gathered, those who gather, are gathered by the Lord unto himself, and they gather in the time of summer, who becomes the first fruits, and those who gather at the time of winter, when there's tribulation. Let's read these two distinctions in Revelation chapter 7. So there are those who are gathered out of the visible shore system in the time of summer and make use of the privileges. There are others that tarry and begin to be gathered out at the time of winter, when the evil that is to emerge in short setting has begin to emerge in fullness. At that time is the time when some will begin to flee and be gathered to the Lord. But that time is precarious. That time is dangerous. At that time there shall be tribulation. Praise the name of the living God. Revelation 7, you see the two divisions of the gathered out ones. verses 1 to 8 shows the first divisions. The 144,000, which you also find in Revelation 14 verses 1 to 4. The first fruits, those who gather in summer, who are gathered to the Lord, who respond to the Lord, who open up to him and allow him to do his work and have his way, and are brought to perfection and fullness by the Lord. They are given in symbolic language in Revelation chapter 7 verses 1 to 8. Also Revelation 14 verses 1 to 4. Then in this Revelation chapter 7 verses 9, you see the after fruits who gather in winter, either because they did not know the mind of the Lord or open up to the mind of the Lord. They tarry in the visible shore system until that wicked thing that is to emerge in the church world, they tarry there until that thing begin to emerge in fullness, and the eyes were opened and they began to turn away. They cannot be part of this. They can no longer be part of this. They began to turn away and turn to the Lord and open up to him. But that time is a dangerous time, for that beast will not spare all those who want to flee from it. At that time, it will not spare them easy. Praise the name of the living God. Or whether they are gathered out of the visible shore system in the time of summer, but did not open up to the Lord to process them, to develop passion and deep longing, and to bring them, to make them ready for full union with him, like we see of the foolish virgins in Matthew chapter 25. So either they were fleeing the visible shore system in the time of winter, or they were gathered out earlier, but they did not use the opportunity, as we see of the foolish virgins. They all come into this category. Praise the name of the living God. So, and that is given to us from Revelation chapter, from verse 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and tongues and people. And you can read on and on. They cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our God, which seated upon the throne and unto the Lamb. And on. Says that they watched their verse 14 says, and I said unto him, Sir, who are these people? He answered, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, these are they which come out of great tribulation, which have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore they are before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple. They shall hunger no more, neither shall they thirst on any more, for the Lamb shall feed them and lead them to place of waters. Praise the name of the living God. So we say that two division. So all that love him, that are his and love him, must be delivered from the visible short system of the day. But it is a matter of timing. Whereas many open up to him in the time of summer, there are some that tarry long and wait until the time of winter, when there will be great tribulations, and when the beastly system has fully emerged in religious setting. Praise the name of the living God. So as we begin to close, go to Luke chapter 17 and let's read. Let's start first from Matthew 24, then we'll take Luke 17. We'll notice some few things and we'll close. as long as the believer is still physically alive, at a point, there must be a departure. Because the things will become more and more evil. And there's going to be the emergence of a terrible thing in the midst of the church world at this time of the end. Matthew 24 from verse 15. When ye therefore shall say the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. And we are already seeing it. We are already seeing it. We are already seeing the abominations in the holy place. The tares are full grown. They are almost taking over the entire field. We are seeing the abominations, but this thing shall increase until a system of things emerge in the church world that shall do great wickedness against the purpose of Christ. At that time, to flee will be at a great price. Praise the name of the living God. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Let them which be on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe to unto them that are with child, and to them that give stock in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall there be great tribulation, as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Because the system of things that shall emerge in the church world shall make war against the saints who will not submit to it, and to try to flee at that time, and having not received the processing of the Lord in his ban, and come to the fullness of his stature, to try to flee and resist at that time will bring a measure of persecution and pain. Praise the name of the living God. But pray you not that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for there shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. And except those days shall be shortened, there shall be no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, in so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. It's an ongoing thing, and becomes fully grown as we go into the future. And that evil thing emerges concretely in the church world. Praise the name of the living God. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, is in the secret chamber, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Praise the name of the living God. Luke 17. Verse 34 to 37. I tell you, in that night there shall be two men in one bed. The one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. Two women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken, and the other left. Two men shall be in the field. The one shall be taken, and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, Yea, Lord. And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles be gathered together. Praise the name of the living God. So you say the separation, the gathering together of the weights unto his span, the gathering together of the tests in preparation for a judgment that is coming. Praise the name of the living God. Not all are gathered unto the Lord. It's the weights that are gathered into the Lord's one, that are gathered unto the Lord. And there are 4 descriptions used for the saints that are gathered to the Lord out of the visible shore system at this time of the end. Here in the passage that we read in Luke chapter 17 and Matthew chapter 24, he used the word eagles. They are eagles, eagle saints. Praise the name of the living God. In another place in Matthew chapter 24 verse 30, they are said to be the elect. Praise the name of the living God. Then in Matthew chapter 25 verse 1, because they gather to the Lord to journey to meet him in full union. So there's a journey, there's something in view, there's something the Lord is to accomplish in there. There's a journey, spiritual journey they are to enter into, that we see them ascend in life and passion and desire to meet the Lord in full union. Praise the name of the living God. The word virgins is used. Then in Psalm 50 verse 5, the phrase, they that have made covenant with him by sacrifice, is used for those who are gathered. So we say this 4 description: eagles, elect, virgins, they that have made covenant with him by sacrifice. And it's a characteristic of those who are gathered. And whereas God gathers his people, and you may say a child of God may be full of all kind of things, and you may wonder, why did God bring this one here, safe? But God sees the hearts. God knows what he's going to do in that life, and those 4 characteristics will be revealed in that life that God has brought, if he opens up. As the person stays, you will see those 4 characteristics emerging in the life of the gathered. It's a characteristics of the gathered ones. They are virgins with a singularity of affection for the Lord, not man. The Lord, who is the husband. They are eagles. They are elect. They make covenant with the Lord by sacrifice. Praise the name of the living God. And notice, it says, neither shall they say lo here or there. It's not in the secret chamber. It's not in the Obadi. It's not in California. It's not in Benin City exclusively. It's not in Toronto exclusively. But as the light that shineth from one part of the heaven to the other, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. And this coming of the Lord and the light of his presence is what they are gathered unto. So it is not a location. In every place that body is expressed, there's a gathering unto the Lord, not unto man, not unto man, but unto the Lord. Praise the name of the living God. Passion for him, desire for him is a characteristic mark of that body. Praise the name of the living God. And note two things that we close with. Where the carcass is, there the egos are gathered. The carcass, the egos feast on the carcass. Where, as we notice the characteristic mark of this gathering unto the Lord, with the work of the Lord before him, to prepare them, to process them, and bring them to fullness. So we notice the characteristic mark. We have seen the persons, their description, what is to be revealed in their life increasingly. We have seen that the gathering is not limited to one place. It will not require everybody to gather to one place all over the earth. So they may not necessarily join you. You understand what I'm saying? But wherever the Lord gathers his people, this characteristic mark will be there to reflect what God is doing. If it is not there, it's not yet a gathering. It's something else. But this characteristic mark will be there everywhere that gathering unto the Lord is found. Praise the name of the living God. We're saying the characteristics of the gathered out ones. We're saying that the focus is on the Lord, not man. There shall arise false Christ and false prophets. They shall show great signs and wonders. Do not go after them. It's unto the Lord, unto the light of his presence. It is the center of attraction. It is the focus. All eyes and desires as they come are centered on him, are focused on him, not on man. It is the bridegroom whom their soul loveth, whom they are seeking, whom they are desiring, and they desire full union with him. So it is the defining line of their gathering and their focus unto the Lord. Praise the name of the living God. Then we are given two things. Where the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered. The carcass the eagles feast on the carcass. The food, the characteristic mark of that gathering. Oh, food. The food they will eat. The ministry of the Lord, the prophetic ministry, the word of the soon coming kingdom, the ministry of the Lord that enlightens their eyes and makes them to see the glory and sets the vision before them and makes them to see and have an understanding of the kingdom that is about to be revealed and the implications. The food that strengthens them, that builds desires and longings for God in their heart, in their soul. The food that makes them to begin to seek the Lord passionately, to begin to hunger for fullness, to begin to look for him and wait for his appearing. Oh, that food is the center of the gathering. Is something that must be found, that is present in the work the Lord is doing at this time. You can't get that food in the visible shore system. That light of the coming of the Lord and the things associated with it and the glory and the workings, that food that will make men to rise up, mount up with wings, and to begin to passionately desire and seek after the Lord, and to long for perfection, and to long for full union with him, and to long for more and more of his life. You can't find it in the visible shore system. It's not there. It's not there. The food being served there will only make you sleep in relation to the mind of the Lord and what he's doing. It will make you babies, ever worshiping man, not maturing ever dependent on your pastor, on the overseer, carrying his rosary, his what do they call what they put around their neck? As long as you are with it, you are safe. No accident can happen to you. It will make you babies and everything. Oh, praise the Lord, hallelujah! Your miracle today, everything ends there. Food to sleep. But the food that will cause the eagles to arise and that will build desire and longings for full union with Him, for perfection, for glory, that food is the attraction. We see such beauty there that no man can compare. We worship you, our God, beyond the veil. We want to come. Oh, thou whom my soul loveth, cause me to see where you cause your sheep to feed. For why should I be as one? Turn aside from thy companion. Hunger for God. More and more for His life. It's something that is a character of that gathering. Because of the food. If the food is not there, oh, they can't make much progress. The food to strengthen them in the journey, to cause them to begin to continue to run the race with great strides, to continue to mount up. And you know, the food makes them ready, prepares them and makes them ready. And there's an aspect of the food that is the marriage supper. Hey, you will eat it. Transformations that the Lord will give to those that have got into the marriage chamber, that will transform them and make them fit to unite with Him in His glory. It says, and when they went to buy, those that were ready went in with Him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Revelation chapter 19 says, let us be glad and rejoice, for the marriage supper of the Lamb has come, and the bride has made herself ready. There's a food that will make you ready, that will enable you to make yourself ready, that will birth longing, desire, passion, that will give you understanding and insight and sight of the glory, and make you to prepare yourself and make yourself ready. And when you have been made ready, there's additional food. Hallelujah! For the bride has made herself ready, and it was granted that she should be clothed in white raiment, something no other person can give but the Lord. Final transformation, moral transformation, that is going to give to those who have made themselves ready, that will fit them to become His bride. Praise the name of the living God. Only those that make themselves ready enter into that marriage, into that inner door where the transformation takes place and the garment is given. Hallelujah. So food, where the carcass is, there the eagles are gathered together. Then another element is revealed. It says, where this body is, there the eagles are gathered. Another element where the body is. So the gathering is God is building a body. It's not after the order we have seen in the visible church system. It's building His body again and putting every vital member of the body in their own place. And all members are relevant and vital to the working of that body. There's a ministry to that body. There's the ministry of the body to itself. A body after the order that God has set up for the church right from the beginning. Not after the order we have known this many years. and have crystallized in the visible church organization. No, not after that order. It's not a body after that order. That order exhausts man, promotes man, set up man, and make God's people to become babies forever. But not that body. A body according to his mind, with every vital member relevant to the health, to the growth of that body, and all coming together, fulfilling their roles that God has assigned them in the body, all equally important to God, all having access to God, all a kingdom of priests and kings, no one exalted above all others, all looking up unto God, who is their lover and head, seeking for full union with him, and learning to submit one to another, and God building up that body unto perfection. Where that body is, where that structure, that spiritual organism is, there the eagles will be gathered together. So when these characteristics are reproduced in a body of people, they are an expression of the work God is doing at this time of the end. Praise the name of the Lord. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. All of his soul, as long as the believer is still physically alive. If God takes him away to glory, fine. Blessed are they that die in the Lord from henceforth. And Isaiah chapter 57 says, the righteous perisheth, and the wicked let it not to us, not knowing that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. But as long as the believer is still alive, there is no middle ground. At a point, he must be delivered from that order of things that is emerging in the church world and be gathered to the Lord if he is to make it to the glory that is set before us at this time of the end. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Let's begin to pray and talk to him. Give thanks to him.